What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another W. I'm your host, Rob Medina, and I thank you all very much for joining me here today because today I'm reviewing the movie Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So this is the brand new Netflix film that came out on Friday, February 18th, and I'm going to say this right now. I didn't really care for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise at all. I'm not invested with that franchise. The only film that I really did like, and I actually love this movie, is the 2003 remake. And so I'm going to give a bit of backstory about that film because this is actually true. It really did happen. And some people may not believe me, but I swear to God it's true. So the Texas Chainsaw 2003 remake, I saw in theaters with a bunch of friends of mine. And I think it might have been like 5 or 6 of us that saw the movie in theaters. And when we saw the film, we were all scared shitless. Like, I'm not making this up. We were terrified. When we walked out of the theaters, we all, one guy drove all us home, and so we dropped off one guy who lived like, I don't know, a couple miles outside of where most of us lived in this apartment, condominium complex that the majority of us in this group were living at the time. So we dropped this one guy off, and we actually walked him home, and we hung out in his house for a little bit, and then we left, and then we all went home to the condo complex that we all lived at, the 4 of us there. When we got home, we literally stayed in the car, I think maybe 5-6 minutes, and we were just hanging out trying to like overcome our fear of what we just saw from Texas Chainsaw Massacre because we were really scared of what we saw in the movie. And then once we all got out of the car, we literally all ran home. And I swear I'm not making this up. We were all pissing our pants. Not literally though, but we were definitely scared. And to see a bunch of like 14, 15, 16, 17-year-old kids hanging out and watching a movie and then being scared shitless to walk home alone, it sounds ridiculous, but it really was true. This really did happen. So that movie always has a very special place in my heart because I still think it holds up very well to this day. It's one of my favorite horror movies I've ever seen. I think it's one of the best remakes I've ever seen, although I've never seen the original Texas Chainsaw film. Never really cared to watch it, to be completely honest. But that movie always holds up every single time I watch it. I still love that movie to this day. I still think it's one of the greatest horror films I've ever seen in my life. And I'm not making this up. I love this movie. So with this new one that's coming out, that's pretty much a direct sequel to the original 1973 film, it picks up 50 years after the events of the first film. So for those who haven't picked up by now, I'm not going to do my standard review how I've done with my previous videos. I'm just going to go off the cuff here. So this film takes up 50 years after the original film, and it's basically Halloween 2018. So here's what I'll give credit to the film. I do appreciate that they're trying to find a good reason to continue on with the original story because that seems to be the safest bet. Is let's just follow the original film and not do anything new other than adding new elements to tell with the current story, so that way we have a good reason so why we're able to tell it nearly 50 years later. I liked that approach. What I didn't like though is that honestly the film was just kind of boring for me. There were times honestly where I remember just looking down on my watch and just thinking, when is the film going to be over? Because it's not a very long movie. It's actually about, I don't know, an hour, 20 something minutes, something like that. So it actually runs through really quickly, but I was kind of bored with the film. And the movie doesn't offer anything new for me personally. Now, I'm not going to here to say shitty things about the film in that respect because even though I didn't like the movie all that much, there were some good things about the film. As I mentioned before, I like the attempt with what they're trying to make and continue on with the original story. I think the film is actually pretty well directed. There's beautiful cinematography in this movie too. Leatherface himself is okay in my opinion. He wasn't bad by any means. I just thought he was just okay personally. There was nothing really about that particular version of Leatherface that really stuck out for me. I do appreciate that they kept consistent with getting an older actor to play the part that still have that big massive build that's that we've all are accustomed with Leatherface. That he's not this muscular guy, but rather just this kind of massive behemoth of a man, but there's something a little odd about his frame, but you still look at him and you realize he's still a threat. So I did appreciate that in keeping that consistent with the actor they hired to play Leatherface in this film nearly 50 years later. So I appreciate that. But that being said, though, they are definitely taking the approach that we've seen from the 2018 Halloween film, where you have more or less this character, Sally, I believe is her name, who survived the events of the first film nearly 50 years later, who's been trying to find Leatherface, and this entire time she's never been able to find him. And now the one day when a bunch of kids who made an investment in this one little town where they're going to try to renovate the place to make it nice and pretty and whatnot, so they're bringing investors in to help rebuild the city, if you will. I thought that was interesting. Didn't really care for it, to be completely frank, but it had to take that event for Leatherface to come out and make his comeback, if you will. And this character Sally all of a sudden comes out of the woodworks and is out to go hunt Leatherface down. And then when she finally has a one-on-one confrontation with him, there was nothing that happens that is, for me, very memorable. It just was a wasted opportunity, in my opinion. I think there are going to be some people who will like this approach and how the two characters meet up again and have this interaction with each other. I didn't really care for it at all. So, as you can tell by now, don't really have a lot of great things to say about the movie. And this review, like I said, is not going to be my other reviews where I have it pretty structured. It's just off the cuff here. So I didn't really get into a lot of the plot here. I'm definitely not getting into a lot of the characters because honestly, I didn't really care for them all that much. The only one character that I really did like was this character by the name of, I think it's Richter, I think, if I'm not mistaken, who was a contractor, who was a bit of a dick in the film, but I liked the guy. And even though I don't agree with his methods, if you will, but I actually understood where he was coming from. He was the only character in the entire film whose journey that I was invested in. And then all the other main characters whose journey you were meant to be invested with didn't really care for them at all. And when they died, didn't really have any compassion for them at all either. As a kind of a dickish way for me to say it, I don't mean to come across that way, but it just wasn't like doing anything for me. So the kills in this movie, on the other hand, they're fine. I liked them, and they definitely were bloody, but it wasn't as impactful as I thought it was going to be, because I've heard some other reviews that were saying that the kills are awesome, and I was looking forward to that. I thought if we can get some great kills and I can walk away entertained in that respect, I'm good. Didn't really get a lot of that. I mean, there were some good kills, I'm not going to deny that, but just wasn't enough for me to be like, wow, this is like amazing. It was nothing like that for me at all. But you can clearly tell that everyone that made this movie had worked very hard to make the film, and it definitely does show on screen. So I'm not taking anything away from everybody who's worked in the movie, because they definitely put in the work. Unfortunately, it just didn't do anything for me. It wasn't really my cup of tea. It offered nothing new for me that I could really be invested with. But I do know there are some people out there who have seen the film and liked very many other elements of the movie that worked very well, and that I would agree to a point. But for me personally, it just didn't connect with me at all. So, I don't like to use this rating here often, because when I feel like if I use it, it comes off as being disrespectful to the people that worked hard on making the film. But quite frankly, if someone really were to ask for my opinion and say, would you recommend the movie? I would say, yes, check it out. But honestly, for me, it's not worth a shot. Nah, mate, I don't want it. And those are my thoughts on the film. If you have seen the movie, let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. And also, if you haven't done so already, subscribe to our channel and make sure to share and like the video, and also hit the notification bell while you're down there. And you can follow us on our social media accounts on Instagram and Facebook at Nerds Rule the World, and on Twitter at the NRW. And you can follow me on my social media accounts on Instagram and Twitter, Mr. Rob Medina, and on Facebook, simply just Rob Medina. And I have a show on the channel called You're So Cool with Rob Medina, and I have social media accounts for the show as well. On Instagram, You're So Cool with Rob Medina, and on Twitter, You're So Cool WRM. And I want to thank you all very much for checking out this review. I hope you guys did enjoy it. And I know that this review was very different from what I normally do with my previous review, where it's a little more structure. I just wanted to stick with a more off-the-cuff approach here, because I didn't really feel like investing a lot of time to, go with the structure that I normally like to go with with my reviews. I didn't really feel like doing the review, to be completely frank, but I felt like I wanted to say something about it. And I thought the best way I can do it here is just go off the cuff, and whatever comes out, and hopefully it connects with somebody out there. But even though I gave this film a not worth a shot rating, check out the film. Hopefully you guys will like it. And if you don't, then I understand why. If you do, fantastic. And hope you can let me know why you like it in the comment section down below. But as I said before, I want to thank you all very much for checking out this review. And until next time, everybody, you guys stay safe out there, and cheers.